This is our Kingdom Press podcast. As you know, we bring the best individuals out there in the public eye, making changes and changing people's lives around. And today we have a wonderful guest here, goes by the name of SoVo, but he can actually let you know a little bit about him and where he came from, his upbringing, and everything like that. His family legacy, where he's going, and who is he helping. So our distinguished guest, SoVo, an American national who, with extensive knowledge in the subject, will reveal the hidden truths behind the mechanism that have enslaved the American people. We will explore how the 13th and 14th Amendment, designed to protect individuals' rights, have been used to strip away their sovereignty. Additionally, we will analyze the impact of Congress' decision to abandon the gold standard, which has turned citizens into corporate slaves. But don't lose hope, as SoVo uncovers a growing movement dedicated to reclaiming sovereignty and asserting individual rights. Together, we will unveil the path towards emancipation. Get ready for an eye-opening conversation with SoVo. Stand by for Unveiling the Deception, American Sovereignty, and the Struggle for Freedom. What's up, SoVo? How are you, brother?
What's good? What's good, man? I'm so excited to be here. I appreciate the invitation.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. We bring individuals to this platform that can share the knowledge, the wealth, to provide opportunity for those in need of an opportunity to help themselves out in society. As you know, society is set up for everyone to fail, and it's up to us together to find a way out of this muddy water.
I agree.
Yeah. So we're gonna jump right into it, SoVo. But first, I would like for you to start with how you got into the space of being an American national. I guess that's the word. That's the title that's out there for individuals like you, unless you have another title you would like to provide to us that you go by. But let us know what drives you and how did you get into the space?
Good question. Because for a long time, I've always known that the why behind something is everything. And what put me into this space was the why. Initially, a few years back, I just found myself in a situation where I was in county jail in Georgia for something that I was innocent of, and they weren't being very friendly. I was innocent. I had the evidence to prove the innocence, and it just wasn't. They still proceeded to try to prosecute, so that pushed me into the law library. And as a result of being in the law library, I started seeing a lot of different cases where a trust was involved. And that was what sparked everything that exists right now today with my company. Just being in a tight situation, being tired of being taken advantage of, being tired of being treated like a slave, like property. And I just felt like nobody was going to come and save me. I had to figure out a way to rise to the occasion to save myself. And so I began that journey of just trying to figure out how to save myself. What drives me is just being keenly in tune with the state of society and our people, and being aware that there's knowledge and wisdom that's needed, that's lacking in our everyday affairs with self-governing for our families and our businesses. And so wanting to just play a major part in transferring the energy and the information so that people can enhance their quality of life. I've been a broker my whole life. I've from when I was in the streets selling drugs, I was brokering transactions. I went to real estate school, got a real estate license, did the brokering thing. So now it's kind of like I'm just brokering information. I'm brokering knowledge to the people that are serious about educating themselves. So that's kind of what put me into the whole American national thing, was coming to the realization that the U.S. And the corporation structure is out of the District of Columbia. and out of Samoa and surrounding territories. So when I started doing my research, I realized I'm not a U.S. citizen. So I wanted to know what I was.
Okay, so let's stop right there. Let's talk about that. But I also want to get into the backstory of you have an interesting story on why you went to jail, and everybody may go to jail for different types of reason. Your
Yeah,
reason was for something, but and you are innocent in the situation, and you have proof of that. But
yeah.
what got you in there? But also, where was your aha moment after reading these books? Like, what specifically did you see and said, this is the way?
Yeah, good question. So I sold a vehicle to a young lady, and the agreement was for her to pay me when she received her income tax. She did not. She didn't want to relinquish my vehicle back to me, even though that was part of the agreement. So I unfortunately had to go and repossess my car from her while she was at work, and I didn't tell her I was doing that. We weren't on the best terms. But she, not knowing that I had repossessed my own car, reported the vehicle stolen. And ultimately, I ended up going to jail for stealing my own car. And I was able to prove that the car was mine, but for some reason, they didn't want to just drop the charges. So it resulted in me going to the law library. This lawyer is trying to talk me into taking a plea agreement without even um, asking any questions about the details or any evidence. So the aha moment was for me. Um, I was in the county jail for 11 months. This gentleman had a book called The Redemption Manual. And I kept reading about the straw man and the straw man. And I'm laying in my cell every day thinking about this whole straw man concept. I had been teaching about corporate structure and teaching people how you could put LLCs and different stuff in your name. So there was something there, and I was trying to connect it, and I couldn't connect it. And then a year or so later, somebody passed, and it was brought to my attention that they had an estate. And then that was when the dot connected for me. And I realized that the straw man is the estate, and that you don't want to use straw man because you get stereotyped as a sovereign citizen. But if you use estate, you're properly correct. So that was kind of the aha moment for me, that this whole straw man thing wasn't just conspiracy, it's real.
Well, break down quickly the straw man for those who are watching, and it's the first time they ever hearing such title or topic. What is the straw man?
So you hear it referred to as the straw man, you hear it referred to as the pad man, you hear it referred to as the corporate fiction, but it is a corporate entity which is basically your estate. Every single time you use your name, you are using your estate. Whenever you're signing on the behalf of your name, it's really your estate. The social security number is not for you, it's actually an identifying number for your estate to be taxed by the IRS. So the straw man is nothing more than your estate.
Okay, and that's the all caps letters.
Correct.
All
Yep.
right. So so yeah, go back into where you was alluding to as far as your story is concerned, and how you found out what the straw man is, and I guess it was based on reading the redemption manual.
Yep.
Expound
You said based on the redemption manual of what?
based on the redemption manual, but continue where you was going on that and explain exactly what you learned from that.
So what's interesting is the gentleman that had that book, he wasn't sharing it with everybody. And I was one of the guys that was serving out the food, so I didn't eat meat at the time. So I figured I'll give this guy my meat if he'll let me read the book
Pause.
overnight, and I'll return it in the morning. We bartered, and he went for that. And so as I'm reading it, the light just came on completely. Everything shifted for me, and combined with my interest in trust, once I was released and was able to access the internet, combined with researching everything that I read in the straw man, and then combining with my interest in trust, so many things were unlocked that I was able to find as a result of just intensely digging.
So as read this manual, and you realize there's a lot of lies going on in this world, especially in this country. But a lot of the country, there's some countries that live just the same as this country itself, because some of these countries was played just like us, and then there are some people are waking up to this new information, but this information is not all the way new. It goes back a long way. There's been a lot of people that's been struggling or even triumphing in this space and doing their best to live in the private and create a better life for themselves. So if you can, let's go back into the history of this. When did this madness start, and when did we let go of our freedom, and how do we go back into obtaining it?
Well, it's way before 1933, but I like to use 1933 as the touch point because it's the most relevant and recent historical account that we can rely on with some sort of accuracy. It seems like the further out things are, it's a little bit harder to rely on the accuracy because there are so many different accounts out there. So 1933, right? When the corporation filed bankruptcy and when the gold standard was suspended, that's when we really handed over the keys, because we didn't understand that technically, even though they violated a lot of our human rights, we really didn't have to consent to giving over our gold because it's yours. It's tangible. It's something that you hold and possess. So that all ties in even to the 13th and the 14th Amendment citizen, because they had to find a way to legally be able to do slavery in a different form, if you will. And it's being done basically by pledging you as collateral and security for performance that is expected of your estate.
So let's go into that. So can you give us a brief overview of the 13th and even the 14th Amendment and their original intent, and how have these amendments been used in ways that stripped away individual sovereignty?
Okay, good. I love that question. So, I keep the Constitution around me for the purpose of educating others. I keep the United Nations Declaration of Rights of the Indigenous and the Human Rights. Very good stuff that you want to learn and study, right? Because in doing so, it helps you to understand contextually the 13th and the 14th Amendment. So in the 13th, right, it says neither slavery nor involuntary servitude except as a punishment for a crime. So it said except, right? There's an exception to the rule. So even though you're claiming to abolish something, in the same breath, you're telling us there's an exception to this rule. So technically it's like saying, but, because everything before it doesn't even count, right? So it says, except as a punishment for a crime, whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction, right? We're not even really understanding that these punishments for these commercial crimes, 27 CFR 7211, which are offenses against the revenue laws, these are really designed to hide the involuntary servitude that's being hidden and the punishment for your crime, because it's all connected. From the guy making the license plate to the guy working in the wood shop to the guy working in anagram, making 13 cents a day or an hour for his work. So it's been legalized. But if you go forward to the 14th Amendment, it's talking about that corporate citizen. And what we're not realizing is the Constitution was never for us. It's for US citizens. So if you consensually subscribe to be the 14th Amendment citizen, you're subscribing to their authority and their jurisdiction, their laws and their rules. We don't understand here in America, the law that governs us is international law. It's not federal law. It's not state law. So the US Constitution and that law is for US citizens. For those of you who don't know, you are not a US citizen. A US citizen and an American is two different things. You need to research and find out what is the US and where is the US.
Many people view the 13th Amendment as the end of slavery in America. However, you suggest that it has been used deceptively. So I know you did some elaboration. Can you elaborate a little bit more and provide specific examples?
So being used deceptively in the context of like just how what I was just saying. So, prisons are for profit right now. Prison is a business. And so what makes it deceptive is it's one thing if it's just for punishment for something that's a real crime. But when we're talking about a crime that isn't a violation against anyone's way of life, and money is being made off of it, it's completely, how could it be considered the end? Look at what we've got going on with systemic, institutionalized individuals with all of these systems out here. All of these rules that are institutionalizing people for what? That's all slavery. No matter how you look at it, the guy gets out of prison, then he has to do parole, and he has to do probation, and he has to pay parole and probation fees. He has to pay to be on parole. All of this stuff is all about money. How is it
down the man?
Huh?
Stripping down the man to his socks.
Yeah. There's no way that that can be considered an end to slavery. If you think about the origins of the police, their entire origin is based upon slave catchers. And even now they pull up on melanated individuals and say, show me your papers. What right do you have to be here?
Yeah.
Right? It's still slavery. It's just in a different format.
Can we make the connection between the abandonment of the gold standard? It's often seen as a significant turning point in American history. How does this decision related to the issue of sovereignty, and why do we believe, or do you believe, it has turned citizens into corporate slaves? And let's make the connections with the constitutions and these two amendments that we talked about, the 13th and the 14th.
We've given away our power to barter. We've allowed the third-party banking system to have the power that belongs to us. And so, part of the Constitution talks about legal tender, it talks about lawful money, it talks about gold, it talks about silver, and it talks about US coins and currency. But at the end of the day, I think it's a lot simpler than a lot of us who are politically minded make it out to be, because ultimately, with the coin and the power of currency resting in the hand of the people, the prices of goods and services are in our hands, the ability to barter with one another, we've lost all of that. And so I think in losing that, we've also given away our sovereign power. It's all connected because it's structured as being done consensually, even though it was done deceptively.
So the dollar's not backed by any gold, so it's actually being backed by us, and that's why
the dollar's backed by your life force energy. Yes.
Man, that's very powerful information to understand that this is just all an illusion. We've been swindled. Some people are still asleep at this, don't even understand what's going on. How do we go about making all this make sense to the average individual to wake up and understand that this life that you're living in, it could be so much different and so much better if we decided to dig a little bit, educate ourselves, and get to a point where we need to get to in order to somehow be free. Now, I know you're in the space of helping people out. Tell us about that process and what does that look like for an individual getting in the game in this?
Man, I tell you, I think what it was for me, I'm sure it's different for everybody, but for myself, I got tired of relying on someone else to show me the way or give me the knowledge. I got so hungry that I just dug and dug and dug and dug until I found the truth for myself. And I think that that's what's going to be required for anybody to actually be able to make this journey and actually see some results, because you got a lot of people that have been trying to get free without any success whatsoever.
Yeah.
And so you have status correction and you also have trust formation, two very powerful commercial things that any individual has to do if they're expecting to be able to really get free from the system.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to happen without doing one of the two. And really, if you combine them, it's extremely powerful, because at the end of the day, as long as you're continuing to agree to be a U.S. citizen, if you don't understand how to govern your commercial affairs and understand what an estate is and how it's taxed and what a trust is and how to create a buffer from commercial liability from yourself and taxes for your trust and estate, you're just going to remain comfortable in the life that you have been indoctrinated to live. It looks like it's a lot of hard work.
I was gonna elaborate on that a little bit more. I wanted you to elaborate on that. What are some of the main challenges faced by individuals attempting to reclaim their sovereignty, and how can they navigate these obstacles effectively?
The number one thing that I'm blown away that I'm seeing, that I'm trying to still figure out how to resolve, is mental laziness.
Mm-hmm.
It hurts me to say it, but it's the truth. A high percentage of the people that I meet don't realize they've been conditioned to be mentally lazy.
Yeah.
And they don't really want to dig deep and do the administrative work, take the bull by the horns and be responsible to do the work. A lot of people that I'm running into simply, I can't get them to do the work. They want to rely on someone outside of them to do it. And if you won't, they'll even guilt trip you and make you feel bad. So I'm not meeting a high percentage of people that are really wanting to break outside of this, get somebody to do it for me. This thing, you gotta dig deep and do it for yourself.
It's beyond just having a teacher to teach you the information and handing
You
over
have to
that.
go within,
Yeah.
and you have to awaken the sleeping giant inside of you.
Yeah. Got to be passionate. Are there any successful case studies or examples you can share where individuals or groups have been able to emancipate themselves from the restrictive system and access to true liberation? Like this, for
Absolutely.
yourself.
Myself and a lot of people that I know. And what I've realized is emancipation and liberty, it's not an event. It's a process and it's a lifestyle. And
Mm-hmm.
every day you gradually experience more liberty and you see more of the chains fall off. And that's what I realized, because for a long time I thought it was an event, that I was just going to wake up and I'm free and everything is different. But what I'm seeing is where I am today versus where I was a year ago, I'm a lot more free mentally, spiritually, financially,
Yeah.
in many ways. And so I'm a success story. I know many people that are affiliated with me that are success stories to some degree or another. So absolutely.
So what does that look like? Okay, a person like you, successful in that space. What did you have to do exactly to create the ability of flying above the radar and looking down on the people that are struggling to get to where a point where you are and maintain and just be? I know you mentioned that based on your services also you provide the trust. Trust is the probably one of the highest or most powerful form of status. Talk to us about that.
About trust, the interesting thing about the trust, you can do a business trust, a family trust, a religious organization trust, a pure equity trust. But what's so interesting and powerful about the trust is, um, your life force energy that you exert to live is reflected in the taxes, right? Your tax return. You get a portion of that back each year. But with the trust, what's so powerful is you get all of your energy back. All of the energy that you've exerted spending and doing things such as paying for gas and to live, when it's done through your trust and you're claimed as a dependent by your trust, you're able to put your expenses on a 1041 and get all of that stuff back.
All of it. You get all of it
So,
back.
yeah, pretty much. It's a pretty high percentage, because the trustee's expenses are accrued as a result of the administration of the trust. You're the tax guy, you're the banking guy, you're the asset acquisition guy, you're the asset management guy. You have quite a role. You're supposed to actually include your salary in the tax return on the 1041 for the trust.
So how do you separate that without getting in trouble? I know when it's you have to know how to separate this hat somehow in order to stay off the radar of getting in jeopardy.
So the main thing is you got two capacities, your individual capacity and you're official. When you're operating in your official capacity as trustee, you're public, but you're privately protected. Your individual capacity is completely private. You're not really obligated to disclose or function in commerce under that hat. When you want to play commerce and monopoly, you just operate under the trustee hat. So what I teach is real simple. It's just understanding the responsibility of trustee and what are the job duties that come with that. And when you kind of look at it that way, it's not so many hats and there's not a whole lot of confusion. You're just functioning as a trustee in commerce.
Okay.
And
So how important is collaboration with experts like yourself and guiding individuals towards freeing themselves from the restrictive system and accessing true liberation? And can you tell us more about your professional services?
yeah, it's absolutely vital because how can we expand if we don't unite? Unity is what's going to expand the fire that's trying to be set, because right now there's a fire that's purifying all of the fake stuff, and the only thing that's going to be revealed is what's real, like gold. And so some of the services we provide trust administrative services where we do full trust formation. Doesn't matter what kind of trust it is, we can form that for you. We do status correction. We do credit enhancement. We do business taxes, trust taxes, estate taxes, and we also provide educational classes. I have a wide variety of administrative educational classes. The classes come with master template documents such as a master trust. And the class is called Trust Yourself. It's 21 bucks if you want to trust yourself for you do-it-yourselfers. If you want to learn how to sue, we have classes for that. If you want to learn how to go after a public servant's liability bond, we have classes for that. So educating the people on the power of administration, you got to understand the verbiage, the correct words and context. There's a whole lot to administration. It's not just 3 or 4 pieces of paper that you throw together and shoot at the wall and hope it works.
Right.
There's so many things that tie in. And so we are aiming to be the #1 educator in the value of administration. We don't hear a lot of people talking about administration right now. And I think that if we can get the people to value administration and incorporate that as a skill set that's mandatory, we could actually change some things, because you can't administer a trust without administration. You
Right.
can't administer a state without administration. You can't do anything.
That's probably the number one thing. That's probably that's probably, I mean, after learning about the history and how this thing started, which is like the foundation, to really for you for to fuel you with that passion, like, oh, like, really they did that to us. Let me go dig down some. Let me go see what I can do to get to a point where I need to be free for myself. So in conclusion, what would be your final message to our listeners who may feel trapped within the current system? Like, how can they strive for true freedom and assert their rights?
I love that question. And in closing, I will say this: Morpheus had to convince Neo that he was the one before Neo could experience the quality of life he knew was out there. My objective is to convince the people you are the one that you have went to go hire for help, the banker, you the banker. Tax professional that you go hire, it's you the tax professional. The realtor that you go hire, you the one. You are the one who is powerful. You are the one who is intelligent. You are the one who is wise. You are the one who is more than able. You just don't know it yet. And I'm sent to activate you and make you consciously aware of it. And that's what I want to leave the people with. I'm the modern day Morpheus, and you're the modern day Neo if you're listening to this.
That's nice. Wake up. Wake up.
Yeah.
I love the ending of that. If you don't mind, please let us know how to reach you, how to contact you, how to do business with you, how to go about waking us up all.
Absolutely. You can check me out at www.trustsavo.com. it will show you a list of the services and the classes that are provided. You can also catch me at Trust SoVo on YouTube and on TikTok, as well as Instagram. I'm the only SoVo out there. So, and SoVo is an acronym, the first two letters of the word sovereign and voice. I have people always ask me, how'd you come up with the name? So it's that's what this company is designed to do, give the people a sovereign voice. So
Trust, SoVo. Trust
yep,
SoVo. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here you have it. The man, the God, the king of his own kingdom, King SoVo.
I appreciate you so much, man. Looking
I
forward to
appreciate,
coming back.
I appreciate you, man. This is the Kingdom Press podcast. Hopefully you have fun and this was insightful for you as it was for me. Continue watching us and enjoy. Peace.